it's a very clear way of watching how somebody operates in this world because they're very consistent in the way they operate. So somebody who has a red aura personality, so the steward of the land, the steward, they are probably what I would call the most traditional. So just for example, in American culture, but I know that there's other cultures where farming is a huge part of your past and part of your culture. So when you think of tradition, you think of that farmer out laboring in the fields, or herding cattle, or keeping care of a garden, just anything where they're taking care, right? Stewards. And this personality is not sweet and gentle, it's practical. Okay, so if you think about it though, who sweet and gentle souls aren't the ones who want to be out in nature and roughing it and just challenging their body and challenging the environment, cultivating that environment, getting, manipulating the environment to produce a certain outcome. It's the Reds who are doing this, and I know that analogy isn't going to always work because there's so few farmers left. The small farm has become big business, and so, but that personality, that kind of roughness, that kind of traditionalness, that acceptance of the earth and the land, and the understanding of the cycles of nature and the cycles of a human birth, life, death, sex, child rearing. Like, they just see things in these simple blocks and chunks of time, and everything passes in the time as it's supposed to. So some ways red has such an acceptance of the life process, all the parts of it, and are not afraid of any of the parts of it. And you can find great comfort in that if you know somebody who is this way. On the flip side, they can feel really abrasive or insensitive because they are not paying attention really at all to emotions or to relationship dynamics or to just more sensitive, more subtle things. Like, that's not where they live. And so if you are someone who is more sensitive to any of those things I just named, then somebody that's a red could feel really abrasive to you and really unkind. But in actuality, it's just understanding, like, that is not their language. Like, they just don't cross over into that world. And similarly, they don't cross into your world. So they're kind of looking at you same way of like, what is that? And if anything, emotions or high spirituality or anything that's more floaty and like changeable like that is very uncomfortable for this personality, because things are concrete to them. Things are predictable to them, because in the world they live in, things are. And they do what they do. If they know about chickens, chickens do what chickens do. And sometimes when things don't go the way you expect with a chicken, they understand that, because that's part of how it goes with chickens, right? So they just have this like really cool, fantastic sense of like peacefulness about them, that the world is okay. And I really love it. I've had the privilege of having reds live near me, and I can literally feel them like this block, or like this solid, energetic, grounded, peaceful, stoic presence. Just having them even in my neighborhood, which is, I don't know how they'd feel about that if they knew that I was like appreciating that and just like accepting the strength that they're passing over, right? Because they just don't think that way. It's not their realm. So but I'm really grateful for it. And once I understood this about that personality, and as a crystal, because I tend to match anyway, it's less of a problem in that I just kind of match that energy and kind of let them lead when I'm around it. But if you are in a relationship with them, it's a little bit trickier, because like a close relationship with them, because if you're needing validation for how you are, they're not usually the ones to give it. They'll give you validation like that's what happens as a consequence for that behavior, or this is what you can expect if you put that work into it, or right. So they don't validate like in a way a subtly sensitive person would want or ask for validation. So, there's flip sides to that, right? Like a red could learn, like all of them with their personality, they could learn how to soften and how to try to see what it's like for the other person. But also, it's realizing that that's part of their ego journey, part of their utilizing their spiritual gifts to realize like the way it is for them is not the only way, which is a huge temptation for the practical family to think. So for the physical environment, they're practical. It's really easy for them to just think, why doesn't everybody see it this way? So that's part of their journey, and I've seen them make that journey, and I've seen a lot of softening go on for the rest of us toward them once we understand the way they're processing, which has been really cool, because it just shifts expectations, and it's been really good.